Good afternoon, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to today's session, Women in Supply Chain Beyond the Buzzword, a conversation that moves beyond tokenism and into the real impact, action, and change. I am Kadvi Rana, and I am honored to be your host for this insightful discussion. At Logistics Insider, we are committed to amplifying voices that shape the future of supply chain and logistics industry. While this sector has historically been a male dominated sector, the landscape that we see is evolving. Women are breaking barriers and taking on leadership roles and redefining the industries of the future. Now, before we dive into today's discussion, I'd like to first introduce you all to our distinguished guests. I'm delighted to introduce our moderator for the session, Ms. Apeksha Garg. Ms. Garg is a seasoned logistics and supply chain management professional with over 8 years of industry experience. Holding degrees in computer science and foreign trade, she has dedicated more than 7 years to teaching and training in logistics. As head of skilling at VCJ Foundation, Ms. Apeksha designs courses for individuals at various career stages, aiming to enhance their logistics expertise. Pursuing a PhD in sustainability in freight forwarding operations, she has authored over 20 research papers and multiple books on international business and marketing, underscoring her commitment to advancing the field. Ms. Apeksha, we look forward to an engaging and thought-provoking discussion under your moderation today.
Thank you so
Welcome
much.
on the
Thanks
show.
for inviting me.
Next, joining us are the remarkable women who are shaping the future of supply chain and logistics industry. I would like to start by welcoming Ms. Sanyukta Kulkarni. Ms. Sanyukta has taken out time from her busy schedule. She's on a different time zone. She's based out of US, and we really appreciate her joining us today. She has over 20 years of experience. She's the senior route development manager for the Indian subcontinent at DB Schenker. She has been instrumental in strengthening the trade corridors between India and the US, driving substantial business growth. Welcome to the show, Ms. Sanyukta, and thank you for taking out time for us today.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to contribute to the community. Yeah.
Next, I would like to call upon Ms. Chaitaly Mehta. She is a third-generation customs broker and second-generation freight forwarder. Ms. Mehta is the director of EKF Global Logistics Private Limited. With over 20 years of experience, she specializes in handling diverse cargo types, including hazardous material, live animals, and aviation products. Recognized for her work, she has received the Entrepreneur of the Year award and is a key advocate for gender inclusivity in the industry as the head of the women's wing in FFAI. Thank you so much, Chaitaly ma'am, for joining us. We know that it was a dicey situation for you. You were also considering whether you'll be able to take out time from your schedule for us today. But we really appreciate you being here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Kavi, for having me here, and a warm welcome to everybody. Happy Women's Day to all the women who are watching us live, and I look forward to our session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, I would like to call upon Ms. Ruby Abidi. She's is Director and Air Freight Key Account Head for India at Cargo Partner. With a strong background in freight forwarding and supply chain optimization, she has played a pivotal role in enhancing air freight operations across the Indian subcontinent. Holding an MBA in marketing and operations, Ms. Abidi continues to push boundaries in logistics excellence. Thank you so much, Ruby ma'am. You were amongst the first speakers who were eager to hop in on this opportunity and address women in logistics. So thank you so much for your support and joining us today for this show.
Thank you so much, Kari, and a happy Women's Day to everyone. And I look forward to an insightful discussion, and a discussion which is very, very much required at this point of time if we have to take a forward leap. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So last but not the least, we also have Ms. Niharika Jalan, who is co-founder and chief growth officer of INDICOLD, joining us today. A leader in end-to-end coal supply chain and warehouse logistics. Ms. Niharika, since 2019, has been driving growth and innovation in India's cold chain infrastructure, ensuring efficiency and sustainability in logistics. Currently, she's caught up in some business meetings, so she'll join us as soon as she gets free from there. Um, I would just like to tell all of you that we are eager to hear your insights and perspectives, and thank you to all the speakers to join us today for this discussion. Next, to set the tone for this discussion and give a keynote address, it is my privilege to welcome our keynote speaker, who is Dr. Jivisha Joshi Gangopadhyay. Dr. Jivisha is the Deputy Secretary to the DPIIT, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, PM Gati Shakti, the National Logistics Policy and Green Logistics, while also managing international collaborations to enhance India's trade efficiency. Beyond her professional contribution, Dr. Jivisha is a passionate reader, a trained dancer, and a travel enthusiast. Dr. Jivisha, we are honored to have you here with us today. And thank you for taking out time for your schedule and agreeing to give us your time in addressing the young women in logistics industry.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I
Now,
don't know why they give you the last part of this travel enthusiast and the dancer part, but nevertheless, thank you for having me.
now, before I hand over the stage to Dr. Jivisha, I would like to give a little reality check to all of our audiences. Let's start with the fact that women make up less than 15% of the global supply chain workforce. And the numbers drop significantly when it comes to leadership levels. But is there any good news? Well, yes, there is, because change is happening. Companies are now recognizing that gender diversity is not just another checkbox, it's a business advantage. And in today's discussion, we will explore the real challenges, success stories, and the way forward for women in supply chain. We have Dr. Jivisha as a keynote speaker to inspire young minds and distinguished lineup for industry leaders who will share their experiences and insights which will help women and men alike understand the need to have women in diverse roles. With that, I would like to hand over the stage to Dr. Jivisha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, first of all, yes, happy Women's Day to all of us. And it's a day to celebrate us. I keep hearing this, that there are less women in logistics and what can we do about it? And is there a reason to it? I have always find this conversation very interesting because if you look at the reality, women are less everywhere, all the professions, wherever you go. In fact, in whatever work I have done till now, everywhere, whichever chair I have held, I have been generally the only women in the room, which tells a lot about the current scenario. But what I also strongly believe in what Karvi also said, that see, it's not just a checkbox. We bring so much more to the table, so much more, so much mental aptitude, so much of multitasking, so much of intelligence to any table that it is extremely, I will not say hard, it's impossible to ignore. It is not something that can be ignored. It is not something which can be, talked about that it's an extra cost to bear if you want to have more women. When I have gone into the details of things, I've always felt that, it just takes few things. If you want women to enter into any arena, be it logistics, be it any other sectors, there are just few initial things which you need to take care of. If you can make them feel secure, if you can make them feel valued, and if you can have equal respect, I think there is no issue of women entering any job. Logistic historically has been, a sector which is not a very integrated, it's quite a disintegrated sector. There are variety of players, there are a lot of issues. And a lot of time when you look at the supply chain, you associate muscular energy to it. Thanks to the IT, thanks to the technology coming into it, and obviously we are also smart. So, it has been easy for women to jump onto the IT brigade and get into these roles. That has suddenly changed the picture. Now that it is not about picking up a box and keeping it at a separate place. Now, when you have machines like forklifters, when you have IT systems where you don't require papers to be sent from one place to another, but you can just log into an account and create a fantastic data set, it has opened the gates which were kept shut by few people. So, now that is where I say that, it is not something you can ignore anymore. It's something which is, we are here to stay. And I really, really feel very happy that so many people have, who are speaking on this topic, they are already in such good managerial role that they are the one who needs to also groom the generation below. They need to sympathize and empathize. And at the same time, make sure that everybody gets the equal opportunity. Equality is a very difficult and a dicey topic, Equality can be seen very differently. Equality doesn't mean that everyone should come at 5 a.m. and leave by 10 p.m. That may not be an equal treatment because we are all having different kind of responsibility after that 5 to 10 p.m. And it can only be done when it's shared well. I really hope, and what I hope to hear from this session is that how these, how these leaders are creating that environment where all women don't have to fight for just one slice of cake in that whole big, huge cake. Because that is when the problem began. When you reserve a 10% quota for the women and expect everybody to fight for that 10, that is when people end up saying the women, that women are not supporting other women. That's the only reason, because you've made them compete for the 10%. They have no show for the 90. So I hate it when somebody says that women are not supporting other women in the roles. I think we're the biggest cheerleaders you can have, and it is our responsibility that if we have walked the difficult path and cracked, that screen, have cracked that smoke screen, that glass screen, that glass ceiling, nobody else needs to travel that path again. We must ensure that just because we had the hard time, the generation who's going to come next should not be having the hard time. We should not expect that, I did so many, hours. I had to pull in so much. I had to defy so many norms. Why are you complaining for such a small thing? It's all right. We have done it. Let's make it easy for them. It's a job to make it easy for them. Let's support each other so loudly that you don't need to hear any men in the room. Let's be each other's supporter. I really, really hope that we all, in whatever position we are going to create an environment, going to create offices where everybody would want to join our teams. And for that, we don't have to compromise on work ethics. We don't have to become likable. We don't have to dress up. It's just because our work ethics are that great. We bring so much intelligence to the table. We bring so much of research orientation, so much of skilling to the table, so much of learning atmosphere in our team that everybody wants to work for us, with us, along with us. I really hope to see more and more women. To be honest, I would want to see a time that we don't have to celebrate one day as a Women Day, because we're not celebrating Men Day in this universe. So we only have to celebrate it because we're still so less in count that we have to find out a day, tell everybody that we are doing good job. So I hope that we celebrate so many Women Day, and a day come that it doesn't look a great deal. It doesn't look different. It doesn't require a separate celebration, because that's the level of impact that we have made. And yes, absolutely. Since we're talking about logistics field, I would love to hear. I would definitely come back to Kavi and take inputs from her. If there's anything you think government needs to do, if it's our policy action which are stopping you, and for example, I've got to know that a lot of states, industrial acts used to still prohibit women to work at night time. Now there are a variety of reasons to it. Initially, they were made for security, but then they become complicated, and so we are already working on that. We're trying really hard that we get done away with such rules and regulation, and nobody less than cabinet secretary himself is emphasizing for something like that. So all that we are doing, but if you still think that there is any policy action, because that's what government can do, if there's anything we can do, we'll be happy to do it for you. We're there for you. So with that, thank you so much for having me, and happy Wednesday to all of you. I look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Jivisha, for sharing your valuable insights and for being a part of this event. Your contributions to the logistics sector are truly commendable, and your words of wisdom today, we hope, stay with the industry and the young minds that are coming in the industry, not only women but also men, because as you said, there is a need for a holistic approach, not just women cheering up women, but everyone rooting for women to be a part of the industry. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining us here. Now, with thank you, ma'am. With this, I am delighted to hand over the stage to our moderator, Miss Apeksha Garg, and I would, hand it over to her to take the discussion forward. So over to you, Apeksha, ma'am.
Thank you so much. My voice is audible. Sorry, checking again and again, but it's important to check. So, quite often we come across to this women diversity, inclusion closer to the Women's Day. But today we are going to discuss that how we all are making it happen, because fortunately I have ladies from policymaker to the one who is making logistic things possible, to the one who is working on ground and making things possible doing the operations. So it's fortunate to get the inputs from the real hero. So let's start with the our speakers. So I just want to ask with Ruby ji that we say cultural change we need. So, what cultural changes do you think are necessary within the logistics industry to create a more welcoming environment for the women?
Hi, thank you, Apeksha. So, yes, when it comes to cultural change, above everything, education, technology, it starts from home. So, when I talk of the cultural perception, it is not just at office, because you reach a job at a later stage. Actually, the cultural perception that can make women welcoming is right at the beginning, when you're bringing them up. And that is something which I feel could change. It has changed a lot. So, let's say it is only just not 5,000 years ago, but just 1900s, when there was all sort of restriction on women. They were not allowed to vote, they were not allowed to go to school. And who changed all of that? It was the women themselves who changed it. There was no passive miracle which happened in laws and in humanity. So the cultural perception which needs to change is not just the women, is the family, the parents first. Then of course comes the education, is that the cultural mindset that I have every day while recruiting is, when I get a women candidate, a lot of managers say, ma'am, she'll not be able to
Yes.
work late, or then she will get married and go for a maternity leave. Now these are the cultural perceptions that needs to change while hiring talent. You have to give them the kind of competencies. There's a war for talent. So when we are searching for real talent, why not a mother of two children? Because when it comes to real competency, uh, you can get those women on board. So while one is of course the cultural perception, which is always around us, the parents, the uncles, the aunts, the dadijis, and of course then of the corporate is that the HR, we should give them the kind of hybrid model, the family friendly offices, the safe locations, and strong anti harassment policies, safe workplace, hybrid models. Of course, thanks to COVID, as I say, necessity is the mother of invention. So when COVID came in, before that I remember before 2020, you would always have that the person has to be there in the office to do something. It was great that COVID changed that belief, and we are right now also on a virtual platform, and we saw that work could happen from, the location did not matter. A lot of corporate offices are now changing into hybrid models, and
Yes.
technology industry had done it, and that is why technology is attracting talent. So from the supply chain perspective, again, as I said, my organization has an hybrid model. It gives you the kind of the 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 thing that you're safe. They support you when you have a problem at work or a problem at home. You're not well, you have to go take care of your child. But that doesn't mean that they don't let you work hard, and they don't let you give that opportunity to give in all your best. So maybe from the cultural mindset, again, it starts from the family, and with the policies that the organizations are making. There are companies, I have seen myself in all the companies that I worked. But yeah, again, it's a long road, and you need more and more in all the organizations to try and attract those talents.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rubiji. And you just mentioned that mindset changing and perception comes from the education.
Yes.
So, if we say education, then what are the roles do education institute play to prepare women for career in logistics, and how they can make their programs better with the help of industries? Also, along with that, what are the technological skills and how women can foster such education while they are doing and completing their degree courses, and how industries are helping them, how colleges are responsible for it?
Yeah, so again, as you see, now again, times have changed. We have a time. If everyone would know, whenever the 12th board results come out, you see the women crossing all the records, change.
Yes.
There are more women who are toppers, in the top 20, 200. You would see that whenever there is a board time. So
Mm.
the education at that level is there for everyone. But what happens is that when you come into the colleges, uh, or the masters, or you do an MBA, that is where it dwindles a little bit. And that is where the education is required for the young women to enter into industry, and specifically we're talking of logistics industry. So that is where we need a lot of, and we see uh, uh, they are not present. How many universities you could say which are teaching supply chain and logistics right now? None. So maybe that is one of the need, that we need more colleges teaching international logistics, teaching supply chain. And they're there abroad. You have MIT offering supply chain. You have all the other US or European countries. But that is one need that we see right now in India. And again, then the second platform is industry collaboration. If we
Yes.
don't have it, let us try and do it. And you would know, there's an organization right now which has actually, logistics gurukul is something Chaitaly would know. I don't know if other people know, but they're
Yes.
doing a great job. They see that we did not have a college which was teaching you those skills, so they opened a gurukul or a college which was teaching and preparing the young women and man, everyone, for coming into the industry. So upskilling, skilling, industry collaborations is one. Plus there are some organizations, Amazon is doing it, DHL is
Yes.
doing right now, which my organization Cargo Partner has a training department for skilling, upskilling. We hire freshers and then we train them, but that is something which should happen on a mass scale. So
Yeah.
again, education on these parts is required. Then you should have again industry collaborations, where uh, the women from industry, like we do, like this session which is happening, should probably go as guest lectures and tell them, we should break that barrier of logistics is for men. It is no longer a men dominated area. And that comes to the second part, technological skill.
Yeah.
So technology has again helped us. They have ensured that you don't need to, like, let me tell you, I take care of the air freight, and prior to the technology being so enhanced, you have to take a ULD, you had to put and simulate your loadability. But now you have simulation programs on the computer which can help me of what packet comes in to give me the maximum yield. So
Yes.
technology is, I don't need to pick it up, a 200 kg load to put it there. So that
Yes.
has now broke the barrier that women logistics is not for women. What is there not for women? If a woman can actually be a heavyweight lifter, then she can do anything. So
Yeah.
I would say that, if you're not getting, the only thing that you need is attitude, and of course with a little bit of support, that the industry, your people, your colleagues. Because again, as Karvi said, it is no longer about just having a checkbox or tokenism, that you
True.
should have a woman. They bring a lot to your organization, and it is actually a well researched thing which says that if you have women, they actually, one, they are loyal, they have empathy, they are high on emotional quotient, so they are actually giving you back a lot. So why do you need to invest in all of this? Because you need to, what are organizations for? To do better. So how will you do better? Because you will have people or women who can contribute more. They will be there, they will not be changing, they will be leading your team with a greater sense of purpose. So maybe, that is why women are required, and people are looking, why are organizations doing this? Because now they're recognizing the importance of gender diversity. So,
Yes.
and again, in the end, I would say that, if they don't give you a seat at the table, carry your own folding chair.
Well said, ma'am. Thank you so much for this amazing thought. I just come up to Chitali ji. As Chitali ji, we have, she's a second and third generation logistician. I just want to ask some interesting thing that if an organization increase the number of females just to boost representation, then how you tackle the potential impact on male members, motivation, and the risk of creating other imbalance. Also, adding to this, I want to ask that it's been noted that some men struggle to take orders from female colleagues. So how you handle such challenges, and what are the strategies you make so that this generally doesn't happen?
Thank you very much, Apeksha. I have to say, Ruby, the last line was fantastic. I think it's
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant, and it
I'm
is so
noting it down.
apropos. Yes, please. You should make a tagline of it. Uh, Coming back to your questions, Apeksha, yes, things are different. If you were asking before, so if I'm going to talk about there are different aspects to this about
Hmm.
adding women to your teams and whether they'll be able to perform and what happens to the men. There are lots of different perspectives to this. If I'm going to talk from my company's angle, we've always had more women as compared to men, and now we are probably at about, I would say, if not 50-50, then I would say between 45 and 55%, where 45% today are men. No, I would say 45% are women and 55% are men. But having said that,
Okay.
when you are in an organization where you are sitting in an office, the employees that you appoint are purely on basis of the experience that they have, in terms of the knowledge that they have, and gender has no role to play. Now I am talking as a customs broker and as a freight forwarder, because this is what we have been taught and this is how it is going forward. We have always had women heading some of our departments, whether it has been documentation, whether it was exports, whether even in accounts, our second in command has always been a woman. Even my console, which is considered to be one of the most technically difficult subject that we have in freight forwarding ever in the country, has always been headed by a woman. So it gender diversity has got nothing to do with it. It's purely on your talent purpose. But when you are looking at it from an operational perspective, when you are looking at it from a field perspective, there it matters a lot, because you can't have women just to show that, oh, you are a woman friendly organization. Because number one, the industry that you are in, so when we were in warehousing before, or you were with your heavy equipment and all, you did not see women till almost about 4 5 maybe 6 years ago, or maybe 8 years ago, pardon my math, but I believe it hasn't happened until recently, is because one, the women themselves would be worried about whether they would be able to use a forklift or not, number one. Second is whether they would be able to use a crane. Third is that whether there were facilities inside the ICDs, the CFSs, the ports, the terminals, where it was conducive for a woman to work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day, especially considering that your ICDs, CFSs, and all are quite remote, right?
Yeah.
Asking for infrastructure, basic infrastructure, which means having clean toilets, decent toilets, having separate men and women different toilets, has been on the agenda for donkey's years. I mean, you ask anybody and they will tell you that this is a absolute requirement. So now the mindset has changed. Now you have women who are managing warehouses, you have women who are doing packing and they are using heavy equipment, we have women who are learning how to be crane operators at the terminals, and all of us who are familiar with the operations knows that, worrying about the height, your stability has to be there, just not physically fit, but your mental stability has to be there. Is because 1 second here and there and a container can fall down, somebody can die, somebody can get injured while you are climbing up, you could fall down, so you have to have that kind of body also to take care of it. I'm not saying that you have to be hefty or you have to be thin and all, but you have to be able to withstand the powerful winds that are blowing at that point at the terminals, because the ocean is not going to worry about the sex of the person, right? So it's gender neutral, whoever the person is going to be. Having said that, organizations should be applauded for trying to break through this and trying to get women on board. But having said that, it is also important to highlight that there are opportunities galore available for women in logistics across all the spectrum streams, industries, and all. But you may not have too many women joining that part of it. I'm talking the operational part of it, or those substreams or verticals where you have longer hours, because they have responsibilities. They may not have families who may be able to adjust and cope to their long working hours. So that
Yes.
is one part of it. Coming to the most interesting part, which is men and women as bosses,
Yeah.
it's is personal, because this has happened to me so often that now
Yes.
when I do the final round of interviews, my first question to the men is, can you handle a woman boss? And it's not an exaggeration. at least 3 to 4 men out of 10 men will say, sorry, we've never answered to a woman, we won't do it. And if I may so
Okay.
bluntly put it, we've had situations where I have been in conversation with the people for a very long time. I can't give you the exact specifics because otherwise they would know that it is, I'm talking about them. But we've been in conversation. They know that they have to work with me, they have to report to me. They join, and I find that from day one they have problems. I carry on, carry on, carry on, and then 3 months later I asked them, I said, there is a problem, and he says yes. I said, it's not the work, it is because I am asking you questions and I am pointing out your mistakes, and I'm asked, you have to report to me. And he says yes. And I said, okay, I'm sorry, but I am the boss and I am the one you have to work with. So if you cannot respect me for my experience and for my work, then I'm sorry, this is not an organization for you. Let's just part, with respect to each other. And and he quit, and this happened not once but I think at least 3 times. But having said that, people who say that they don't have problems and who hang around do phenomenally well. So I think what hurts the male ego is when you have somebody who's younger to you but has, because of her experience, grown ahead of you, and is now telling you, pointing out that these are your mistakes, or this is how you need to do it, or that you could do it better. They don't seem to like that. The new generation, the Gen Z, doesn't really seem to hung up on the fact that they have to report to a man or a woman, because they come with their own set of problems and issues and stuff like that. Sorry if I took too long in responding, but
Ma'am, no, no, ma'am. You please, because it's very interesting to know your point of view as well. Because we are just entering to the industry, and we just see all the picture from other perspective. But what you people think, what you people say, how you are dealing such situation, it's wonderful to know for people like us who are in the industry but don't know your perception.
so I was asked this question years ago on a panel, and
Hmm.
there were other women with me, and they actually refuted. And I said, "I'm so I'm absolutely okay with the fact, but this is me, my personal experience. I cannot change it to make it more fancy or suitable and politically correct. If there are men who have problem with women as bosses, there are men. I mean, not everybody is there. I would say there are at least about 15-20% of the men who still have problems. You can't deny that, right? I mean, if you're on a forum and you have to talk about it, you have to talk. Coming to it, I think it's just a mindset. I have learned to be more better at handling the egos. So I have learned a lot of things over a period of time. I am not as brutally honest in front of everyone as I normally am. I will call them inside my cabin, and then it is whatever needs to be done. But I think it's a two-way street. And it's just not at work. I think it's generally a perception everywhere that if you have strong women, they get labeled different names. Half my life, I've been called aggressive for doing the same things that my male friends are doing, and they get called, oh, how hardworking they are and how nice they are. But if it is me, it turns out like a different thing. Oh, she's so aggressive. And I hate the fact that we still name
Yes.
call them, or we are still labeled as people difficult to work with. If the same thing was asked by a male boss to a lady or to a man under him, neither one of them would blink an eyelid. But because it is a woman asking a man, it completely changes. But it's only 15-20%, not everybody. Thank you.
Okay. But I can get the idea that amazing celebration is going on over there for Women's Day.
I am so sorry. I have tried
But
telling
I
them
am
to
so
please hang.
happy how much they're enjoying. But coming to the same question, Niharika ji, I'm sure you must have faced the same situation, and men definitely they face problem to get the orders, and they don't want to work under the women or don't want to get women in their team. So how you handle such situations, or what should be taken care to handle such situation?
Yeah, so I think the good news is things have changed tremendously in the last decade. When I started working in cold chain and logistics a decade ago, it was very disheartening. So I remember the first time I walked into my own facility, the operator just saw me and turned around. He did not even want to cross paths because he didn't know how to deal with the woman. Or over time I realized that when I had to go meet customers, I would ask Karthik, who's the other founder, to go meet them, because my meeting would last for 5-10 minutes and his would last for 30-40 minutes, because the customer was not comfortable talking to me. I think in the last 10-12 years, I'm happy to say that an equal amount of customers on the other end are women. So
Mhm.
it's completely changed, and I think the change and the ownership really goes to both genders. So something that, when we were sort of looking at how to celebrate Women's Day at INDICOLD, and we did our celebrations yesterday, the first thing that we came up with was that we are going to give thank you cards to each male employee for creating a workplace that respects women. And it was, I mean, I think there was, so it wasn't a celebration which just had us 40%, 30 or 40% of the women in the office space. It was a celebration that then involved everyone. So everybody was part of it. And to the extent that by evening I had pictures coming on the group saying, so and so has ordered these snacks for the rest of the girls. So the senior colleagues and who were male were going out of their way to celebrate Women's Day beyond what was the organization's mandate.
Okay.
So I think I think that piece we sort of forget to recognize when we talk, which is how genders have changed, how we have colleagues today who equally respect women. And at Indicold, for instance, when you walk in at 8 a.m., you will only see men in the office. But if you walk in after 7 p.m., the last two employees who typically leave the organization are women. So things are changing, and they're changing pretty quickly, because I've realized that for women, it's easier for them to walk in late and have their house sort before they reach work, and they prefer to finish everything before they go home. And it's a completely different scenario. But I think the biggest thing that has contributed to make for us to hire more girls, for girls to be successful within supply chain when I see them, or within Indicold also, has been the kind of respect that the male colleagues have given them. There is, like Chaitali said, that thankfully there is, and it still happens to some extent, that when you enter a room which is full and there's only one girl, she'll be the one who's ordering tea, coffee. But I also find that a lot of meetings that I now do have either a majority of women or an equivalent number of women as men. So things have changed. And I think one thing that has really made a difference in the attitude that I had throughout was, uh, it's just par of course. Me being a woman is not anything that changes the situation that we are in. So if I'm standing at a dock, and early days we've done that and we've loaded vehicles, uh, we would start the morning with, where the whole labor would have a cup of tea, and they would, go and put a ceramic cup for you in a meeting room and say, "Ma'am, aap bhi chai pee lijiye." To by evening, them offering you the same glass that they're using, the same disposable glass. So I think it rests on us to treat everything as par of course. When we do, we'll be surprised how what positive responses we are getting, and how quickly people from all backgrounds, all stratas, and all levels within the organization treat it as par of course. One thing that I think we don't do is we don't ask for help. So that's another thing. So I mean, I remember for the longest, I would be most hesitant to ask people for, is there a bathroom that I can use? Is there a clean bathroom that I can use? Versus then going out and telling, and I mean, I remember we've had people where they would specially ensure that the bathroom is clean the day they know that you're visiting. So it just sort of changes. It's just that we have to ask for it, and we have to treat things like par of course. Women being in office or women being in logistics is not exceptional. It's normal.
Thank you so much for this, Niharika ji. As Niharika ji was discussing the workplace, so Sanyukta ji, I just want to ask one thing, that current workplace policies in logistics genuinely promoting gender parity, or do you see area that still need significant improvement? Continuation to this question, also I want to ask that you see women in customer supports, calling roles, sales roles. What step can be taken to encourage women to do transition into the operations role, such as transportation management, warehousing, inventory management, or pricing, shipping? How we can do that?
Thanks, Apeksha, for the question. And before I start, some really great points, Chaitaly. You are super honest. I really enjoyed the conversation. Ruby, I'm going to make sure that I carry my own chair for the meetings. That's a really good point. And
True.
Niharika, yes, you're so right. Things have changed so much in the last 10 years. It has been a really positive change for women in general. So coming back to the question on the workplace policies, I think that's a very important point for, especially for if you want to hire more and more women and include more and more women in such kind of roles. It's really important that organizations adapt their workplace policies to make women feel more secure, to make them feel safe, and to really ensure that their job security and they feel secure in working, especially in the warehousing environment or a transportation environment, right? A really small few examples can be like warehouse shift timings. For example, there could be morning shift, afternoon shift, evening shift. So if women are not comfortable for working for the evening shift, yes, let them not work for the evening shift. Give them morning shift or afternoon shift. And the other thing is, when the shift ends, it has to end. It cannot be extended after the shift. Women, if they're not comfortable working late hours, they are not expected to, when the shift ends, let it end. I mean, that's the shift timing. And the other thing is transportation, okay? Because a lot of these warehouses are in a far off locations. Women may not feel comfortable going to the warehouse or going back home in odd hours. So for them, workplace policies have to be so that they can arrange a bus, for example, to pick them up from their home or to drop them back to their home in odd timings. So simple things like this, if they can make such workplace policies for women, I don't think there's a reason why women may not feel comfortable working for warehouses. And the other thing is, in office environment, of course, flexible timings that we all are seeing right now, flexible timings for women, because women also have to really take care of a sick child at home. So it need not be so strict. Some kind of adaptation is really welcome. So and I see this, like I was saying, there's a big change in the way it happens in the US, and there's a big difference in the way it happens in India, right? For example, the policies are much stricter in the US than in India. Like simple things like, forklift.
Yes.
A woman is not expected to actually hand carry the pallets, load the pallet from the
Hmm.
truck or unload it, right? Forklifts are 100% have to be used in the US. So women can do a job as well. And I see more representation of women in the US than in India, right?
Okay.
So if we in India, if we ensure that these workplace policies are super strict, like every person has to use a forklift, then why not? I've seen smaller airports in India, they are actually still using the hand cart
Yes.
for loading and unloading. So that is not going to work if we need to hire more and more women. So that is my input. And in overall, if you want more women to participate in such kind of roles, we have to develop their skill set as well. And small vocational courses from universities will help. Uh, so yeah, these kind of things, if we change, then of course, I don't think why not. Women can definitely participate in such kind of roles.
Thank you, Sayukta ji. As you have rightly mentioned, that policies need to be changed, policies need to be stringent, and the policies maker are one who are leading the company and the leaders. So, Chaitali, ma'am, anything you want to add on it, that how we can do it, how we can make it possible?
I completely agree with Sanyukta, because we do require the mindset change along with the facilities to have women do it. Coming to some of the stuff that Sanyukta has said, things are changing now in India in the last decade. In fact, Merck's has announced its first entire women-controlled CFS or warehouse, as the case may be. ICD Talegaon has an entire woman force that is handling forklifts, and because I head the women's wing, we do a lot of field trips across the length and breadth of the country. When we, 2 years ago, when we had taken the first batch of women to ICT Talegaon for a familiarization trip, the women were so thrilled to show us how fast they could spin their forklift around, and it was completely
Wow.
managed by the women. It was a fantastic thing. I was in Tuticorin about a month ago, and we had these young dynamic ladies, postgraduates, double graduates in fact, with different in different from different fields like physics, math, chem, bio, linguistics and all, wanting to become crane operators. So they were undergoing the training for that. So you need mental training as well as physical training besides the educational training. We have one woman in the south, in Kerala actually, who probably holds a record for having 17 different licenses for operating 17 different types of heavy equipment. We now have transport companies which are owned by women. These are young women who are trying to make a change. We have women drivers. They may not be able to do the entire length and breadth of the country, but for shorter distances, we have women who are doing that. And it makes a huge difference. From FFAI, we have our, just like what Ruby mentioned about my Gurukul, we have IIFF where we are doing diploma courses for, it's open for everyone, where upskilling is either the training is done for freshers or we roll out programs for women specifically, which are year-long programs, short-term programs and stuff like that. What is important is that unless and until there is no upskilling and there is no education, it's different. Even the owners now or the top management have realized that you need to have facilities provided. You can't expect a small mom and pop company or a partnership company or a MSME or an SME to give the same facilities as that what an MNC does or a big size company does, because they have different protocols, they have different HR policies and all. But it is heartening to see that even a small size company where there is only one woman or there are two women, there are benefits being given to them. There are things being set in place so as to make the women comfortable. So it is a changing times and we are going in the right direction. And if I may say so, Niharika, your example was so correct, because I've also had men clients who refused to talk to me, at least two of them who refused to talk to me and only would want to deal with my employees. And to add on top of it, add insult to the injury, they would actually abuse me. So my office staff would get very upset, and I said, you know what, chuck it, it doesn't matter. We need to do our work. We just consider them to be roadside dogs and we'll just let them bark. But yes, but it has changed in the last, there's for 100 people, good people, you'll always have those 2 or 3 bad people.
Thank you so much. So, Niharika ji, continuation to you. I just want to ask one more question: that how you measure that any initiative you take. So, how you measure the success of that initiative aim to increasing female representation in the logistics, and what metrics should organization focus on?
Like Chaitaly was mentioning, and I've seen a lot of examples of warehouses being run 100% by women. So Zomato's doing a lot in that space. There are factories which are 100% women led in UP, in Gujarat. For me, the metrics changed a bit. So, I had this ambition that I'm going to start my first warehouse, which is 100% managed by women. And now I've changed it. Now my goal is to have each warehouse have 50% men and 50% women. And I think that's the metric with which we will be successful. See, we will never live in a world where only women exist separately and men exist separately. They have to work together, and we have to earn respect, or we have to give respect to both genders equally. And I think that's the metric with which I work. So when I see, and I was standing, there was a time in our office when we would see that the number of women had suddenly gone up, even at the head office versus the men. I was happier when, the last, and yesterday when we were standing together, I saw that the number is almost equal, so you're there, you're roaming around, maybe a 60-40, 55-45 kind of a percentage, but you're almost at equal numbers. I think that's the biggest metric. The moment you say, okay, this location, this department, I want to ensure that there is diversity. The true meaning of diversity is when you have an equal representation from both sexes. Otherwise, you will always have, people come up and say, sales is a woman-oriented team, or
Yes.
HR is a woman-oriented role, and there are only women in it. And I know I've made these mistakes very early in my career. When I was doing my MBA, I went and told my dad, I think I should take HR because it's supposed to be a soft role, and I'm a woman. And my father told me, "Are you kidding me? Do what you love." And there's nothing called you have to do a soft role. You can, the sky's the limit. So he sort of shook and
Yes.
woke me up. And I think that's the moment as an organization we feel like that. And we say, you can be in any role, any department, any function, any level of management. That's when we are hitting our goals. So, and
Yes.
maybe hopefully I'll be able to take it from the head office to the warehouse very soon. We are still not yet there. So, each new warehouse that we create has separate changing rooms for women, has separate toilets for women, has all the facilities. It pains me greatly when I go there and see that we're not doing that. We're not utilizing them. But I think we'll get there. I'm very, very excited for the future.
I'm sure you will get there. And you ladies making this conversation so interesting that I am now confused what to ask, where to ask, because I want to talk to everyone. So, Ruby ji, now I want to ask you that, as you were also mentioned, that mentorship is also impactful. So, if we say mentorship influences young women considering logistics leadership role, and what can be done to enhance mentorship opportunities in industry?
Yeah, thank you so much, Apeksha. I'll tell you this. I feel if I owe, one word to the success of my, where I have reached, I've been here in the freight forwarding industry for 25 years, and mentorship is what helped me. So I feel that mentorship is a game changer for women across, and how it can help. Uh, I'll give you my example. So, of course, I did not have a person around me when I was starting, but I had Indra Nui. I she was there, and so you actually read about her. How mentorship helps is one, it bridges that confidence gap when everyone, and particularly more women, have self doubt because of their the culture or the things that they have grown in. People would say, "ये लड़का better कर सकता है, लड़की कब करेगी?"
Hmm.
So that is where you have a lot of self doubt. Women have that self doubt, and mentorship helps you bridge that confidence gap. Now, in the corporate sector, let me tell you, I had a lot of reverse mentorship. So a lot of
Yes.
male leaders who believed in the women, the passion of women, and so they mentored me a lot. But now that I have come to the level, I saw that when I started, I had about 30 women across me. But when I come across, into the leadership profile, I see few women there. I am heading a product, and I don't see a lot of product. Day before yesterday, we had Etihad party. There were just two women there as compared to a lot of other men, so many 30, 35 people. So we want to, how will mentorship help us? Because how am I doing it? I insist on bringing efficient, competence colleagues who feel that they will not be able to do so much of travel and going to calls. I tell them, no, I have done it. So you can come, and with a baby, with a child, with education, with family, you can still do it. Mentorship, so you need more structured mentorship programs. This is more of an informal mentorship that I'm doing across with my people. And what happens is, uh, mentorship is about celebrating successes and more commiserating failures. When there's a girl who just had an issue at home, lost a child, or it is there, and they want to break off. They said, okay, I don't want to work now, I want to break off in the middle management. If a lot of women break out in the middle management, how will
Yes.
people reach the leadership? And as you
Yes.
see, after COVID, the leadership numbers actually went down for women, because a lot of people had issues and they left off. It is here that you require a person, a woman, saying, hey, I did it, you can also do it, you can manage this. Leaving a job is not the only requirement. Then, of course, uh, industry insights. This conversation that we are having, and that I had with, let me tell you, Chaitaly, in that Etihad party, someone was telling me that role when we talk of role models, you have Sachin Tendulkar, and that is why you have great cricketing batsmen in India. Why? Because
Yes.
a lot of kids aspire, they see role models, so they
Yes.
aspire to be. Pakistan had a fast bowler, so there you had Imran Khan. Everyone wants to be a fast bowler. So in women, if you have role models who are up there, you say, hey, I want to be that person. So Chaitali, coming back in the Etihad party, they told me that Chaitali does a work so accountably. It is not just for a name or a title. I think she is the chairperson of ACFI Mumbai chapter, or Akai. Sorry, I don't remember that. But they said, she's the most accountable person. You give it to her. I felt so proud because it is this reputation that people take on. So whenever a person or a woman is successful, we are successful. So again,
Yes.
you bring, and again, if I like Sanyukta today, I was impressed by her thoughts. Whenever there's a bigger opportunity, this is what mentorship does. You will bring them in. Someone sees me having the same wavelength doing. So I think in my organization, I've brought in some great women leaders because of their competencies, and I've asked them to take a corporate role, told them, no, you can do it. I had more trust in them than they had in them, and they're doing fantastic. My air product head for India is a person who I got from the regional profile, the salespeople, and so in just one word, let me tell you, sisterhood. You see brotherhood, everyone bro code. So
Yes.
sisterhood is very, very important. We rooting for the other person. So as
Thank you.
Michelle Obama had said, for Mitchell to run, Ruby was crawling, and someone was walking. So if we are running today, someone had actually fought to go into college, or go into be a lawyer. So I feel
Yeah.
mentorship is very important. There are three ways you can do it. Again, as I said, structured mentorship programs, reverse mentoring, and industry insights. And we have a lot of women in logistics group. I'm a part of them. Women in automotive group, women in manufacturing group,
Yes.
and you hear all of this. So sorry if I took a long time.
Thank you so much. And Ruby ma'am, as
Uh,
you rightly mentioned, this sisterhood and brotherhood. Sayukta ma'am, I just want to, in continuation with this question, can I ask you one question? That how women in logistics can build stronger professional network, and what initiative can companies adopt to facilitate such connections? So how hum sisterhood bhaichara kaise badhaye apna to build the connections?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Before I go to that, I actually want to add on to what Ruby said about mentorship.
Huh.
I think as women, we are a little bit, by nature, we are a little bit self doubt, doubt ourselves a
Yes.
lot more than men, right? It's in our nature. So, especially for women, mentorship is so important. Is very, very important. As senior members of the community, it's, I think, our responsibility to really build up, bring up the women who have even a little bit of doubt that nothing is going to go wrong, you're going to be fine. Because I can give you my example. 20 years ago, when I started off in this industry, I had no idea. And I think I can speak about most people, most women here. Did you really plan to be in this industry or not? No, we all came as an accident, and we had our doubts, right? We had our own doubts whether we are going to be successful or not. But I remember when I joined, my manager or my boss who hired me, I had a question in my head that am I going to be doing well in this industry? And he's the one who said, don't worry, all I have seen many women who have successfully done great careers in this industry. And that one thing, that's hung on to me, and that's the one thing that I've carried so far. And if that would, he would not have said that, I don't think I would have been here. So I think it's really important for mentors to really encourage the newcomers in the industry. And to your question, Chaitali, networking, it's, now there are many institutes like Chartered Institute of Logistics. They have a women's chapter. There is also Shipping Corporation of India. They have a women's chapter. There is also something called Magenta. And there is also something called Lean In Community. So these are some networking communities that really help women, especially in the logistics field. And I think organizations should really actively make women a part of these networking communities, so that, by networking, we all get a chance to talk to each other like we are doing now, to learn from each other, to get ahead of our careers, to find, any jobs. So once women are comfortable meeting other women and get into these networking organizations, I think it'll be easier for them. So I think it's the responsibility of the organizations to make sure that women are part of these networking communities.
Okay, thank you so much. I want to add one more thing, as I'm doing my PhD in logistics supply chain, freight forwarding industry. So we used to write the research paper, and for that we need to collect some data from the companies. When I was taking the data from the for the managerial role or the middle level, you will not believe, if we collect 1,000 samples, then we hardly get 50 or 60 replies from the women, that which correctly shows that on the managerial level we have less women. But surprisingly, when we were writing a paper on the skilling and that how women are taking the option as logistics nowadays, and then when we are collecting the data set, we got at least 40% or 30% women replying. So yeah, changes is happening, and now women are taking participation in logistic industry. So that's wonderful. Before, well, I don't want to end this conversation, but time, we are running out of time. So before we do the closure note, anything Chaitaly ma'am, Ruby ma'am, Niharika ma'am, and Sanyukta ma'am, you want to add, which we might missed? Anything one liner? हाँ, बहुत वन लाइनर
I
आज मेरे को मिल रहे हैं.
I have to first of all say thank you to Ruby because this was really surprising. It feels nice, but I'm also very humbled when people talk about me. And thank you for bringing it out on a platform like this. I have to endorse what Ruby has said, that if we don't have women championing women, we aren't going to go ahead. And it is very, very important that we break the stereotype and we break the mindset that everybody has, that women can't be women's biggest cheerleaders. That is number one. Number two is that for women to accept even anybody cheerleading for them or to be in their corner, they have to believe in themselves. And it's a proven fact. Studies have shown that women typically, no matter who we are low on self confidence, are low on self esteem. We have to be our biggest supporters in order for us to believe that there are people who want to support us and want to cheer for us. At this stage, after being in this industry for almost about 30 years, I completed 28 years last year. It sometimes takes me by surprise when I have people come up and say, oh, we appreciate you, or that we are rooting for you, because you're so used to not having, as in you're so used to believing that you are lacking in something. So on this day today, if I could just wish for women to be themselves, like give yourself that space and accept that you can't do everything, and it's okay with whatever little that you do. And it's fine, because we do some phenomenal work and we are in a very different industry where standards are very high and expectations are beyond the sky. So it's fine if we err a little, because at the end of the day, we are human too. So we are allowed to make mistakes, and we are allowed to breathe, and we are allowed to say, we are sorry, I've made a mistake, let's go ahead from there. And having said that, to Sanyukta, you couldn't have said it better, because networking is the lifeline for anybody in logistics, especially if you come from a freight forwarding background, or you come from you come from a customs broker's background. But I think networking is important for pretty much everything, whether you are an airline or a shipping line, or you are even into the cold chain. Because if you don't go out and meet people, they are not going to know about you. They're not going to know about your company. They're not going to remember you. And networking is such a beautiful thing, because it teaches you to be confident. You walk into a room, 100 people, and you may have butterflies in your stomach. It's also purely based on chemistry. So women need to learn that chemistry is a good thing, because if you have immediate chemistry with somebody, you want to work with them. And like Ruby said, that if she likes you, then she wants to work with you. She may want to mentor you. And Ruby, what you're doing for your team, they don't know how lucky they are to have you on, to have them promote, which is so very important. Because I think it's very easy to talk, but it's very difficult to put it into practice. Having said that, Sanyukta, the next time when you talk about networking, I will have a little request. This is on a personal thing, that you should talk about the Triple FI Women's Wing, because we pretty much do all of this. When we started off last term, we started with 4 women. Today we are 100 plus women across the country, and the things that we teach them there are pretty much this. And I am so proud to say that we've had women send us emails and letters telling that is that because of Triple FAI, the field trips, the courses that they do, they've actually started networking. So they've gone abroad for the first time. They've met people. They are transacting business with each other and all. And it just feels very nice. And I have to say this to you, Apeksha, as well as to Karvi and to Tariq. It's been a phenomenal bunch of women. We would not have even known that each other existed, even though we are in this space. And I've had a wonderful time talking to all of you and listening to you. And Apeksha, you're a fantastic moderator. So
Oh,
thank you.
thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks. You made my day. And really it's been wonderful to listen from you people, because as doing PhD, I just strive to talk to people like this, to talk to women like this, and now it's a gift, I would say a dream come true, life type of situation right now. So
Apeksha,
and
Apeksha,
yeah,
just one line that I wanted to end with after you, of course, finish. Should I?
no, you please, it's
Okay, so
your
this
day
is
today.
yeah. This is a Urdu sher
Huh.
by Majaz, which I just want to remember on every Women's Day. It says, "तेरे माथे पे ये आंचल बहुत ही खूब है लेकिन तेरे माथे पे ये आंचल बहुत ही खूब है लेकिन तू इस आंचल को एक परचम बना लेती तो अच्छा था." The
Oh
parcham is
my
a
god,
flag
yes, yes,
which
flag,
is used for
victory
revolution.
flag, yes.
Yeah, a revolution, I would say. So,
Huh.
this is what I feel every
Amazing.
Women's Day should be.
Amazing. So as I got so many inputs, but if I just summarize, as Jivisha ji rightly said, that it's not hard, it's impossible to avoid women in logistics, and we are uh, slowly but hopping in. And as ma'am rightly said, that if you don't have chair on the table, then bring your folding chair. As Niharika ji rightly said, that she also appreciate the men who are walking extra miles for the women who are in the industry. And Sayukta ma'am rightly said that it's very important to build a network, it's very important to be very stringent in the policy. And Chaitali ma'am also mentioned that you, okay, you are women, you are soft, but sometimes you have to be hard, you have to be strict at the same time, because when it comes to the leadership role, you have to do it, no matter what other are thinking. So there are amazing inputs we got. And also that 45% of the women is working with ma'am in her office. It's something incredible, I'm knowing. Thank you so much. And now I wish to call Karvi. If Karvi is with us, she want to say something.
Yeah. I'll just give a closing remark. But first of all, what a discussion this was. What
It is.
witty and what relatable references you all have put forward. For me, for a second, I was listening as an audience, and it really bring out the feminine energy in me even more so after listening to these conversations and all the relatable examples that you wonderful women have set. So I'll just take a moment to wrap this up. I want to start by thanking each of you for joining us today. To Dr. Jivisha, who was our keynote speaker, you all have graced our event and shared inspiring and valuable insights with us. A big thank you to the moderator. Thank you, Apeksha ma'am, for
Thank you.
steering an engaging conversation. And thank you to all of our audiences who have participated and have committed to driving a meaningful change in the supply chain industry today. uh, this discussion does not end here. It is up to each of us, the industry leaders, the organizations, and individuals, to champion gender diversity, create a create more opportunities, and foster inclusive ecosystem for all the women. So I just want to say, let's all continue the conversation, challenge the status quo, and ensure that women in supply chains are recognized not just as a trend but as a fundamental force that is shaping the future. Lastly, to all the women and the men who are being the wind behind their wings, a very, very happy Women's Day. Dear women, the world may try to hold you back, but let yourself rise, lead, and transform. A very happy Women's Day once again, and thank you everyone for joining in. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Thank
everyone.
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.